Ladies and gentlemen, what is up, and welcome today to a video all about Nebula. We're going to be having a look at her abilities, a little bit of the gameplay, and talking about some of the potential uses and interesting matchups for this character. So the two new characters coming next month, Nebula and Yondu, and at the moment on Facebook, on the forums, on Reddit, everybody seems to be 100% on the Nebula hype train. And I think while she can do some really interesting stuff, I think there's a bit of a bigger picture about the practicality of playing this character that's going to make her maybe a little bit clunky for some people to use. But at the same time, I think there are some really interesting interactions with this character and potential scenarios where she's going to be a really great character or be able to pull off something pretty insane. So let's get stuck into the abilities now and start talking about that. So as a passive, Nebula will start the fight with 2 self-repair charges that activate when the opponent deals more than 100% of their attack in a single hit, and that will repair any of the damage taken over 5 seconds. But if she's stunned, it will stop the self-repair. Now the first thing about this regeneration mechanic, it relies on you taking like a really big hit, and for a lot of champions 110% of their attack is only triggered off a special attack. So that's, I guess, kind of something interesting about Nebula is if you get hit by a really hard special attack, it looks like you can heal all of that damage back. But for a lot of players, you know, at endgame, that can play pretty perfectly. If you're thinking about going for this character as a 5-star, you're probably at that level where this ability, for the most part, is going to be relatively useless in the majority of fights. And as you get better and better at the game, it's just going to be pretty invalid there. So it's kind of a nice regeneration mechanic to have for kind of newer players, but in terms of like the end game, it's not very useful because you're only going to be able to trigger that regen when you're getting hit. And her signature ability as well also ties into this. So when Nebula is out of self-repair charges, she will actually try to recalibrate that and gain 1 every 10 seconds. So again, it's kind of like nice for newer players, but it's not really that great in my opinion. I didn't see it having too much of a use, but hey, that's just my opinion on it. I'm interested to see the mechanic in practicality though. So moving a little bit more down her ability list, 2 of the things that she has an ability accuracy reduction of robots, which is 20% per electroshock charge on the opponent. So I think that's an interesting one to kind of keep off the top of your head, although I don't really see it making, like, there aren't really many robot characters that need it. I mean, it's very nice to have on like Ultron or the Ultron Age of Ultron or Ultron Classic, the Labyrinth of Legends reward. But outside of that, it's not really that great or that useful. Like, it's a nice to have, but I don't think there are too many circumstances where it's going to be like a fight MVP ability there. Now, the next thing she has is being a robot herself. She is fully immune to poison and bleed. Amazing ability to have, just as a passive. Great thing to have off the top. So that instantly is a huge pro for Nebula. So being a robot, really awesome stuff to have there. Very well, kind of makes a viable option if you play well for Alliance Quest in some of the more difficult maps. So yeah, that's some interesting stuff, because poison and bleed characters that are immune to both, are always in very short supply. So that's an interesting mechanic to have. Very nice one. Now we move on to the electroshock charges, and this is where I think the practicality of actually playing Nebula comes into a little bit of question, at least when I'm thinking about the character. Now, holding block charges her weapon, so pretty much every 0.9 seconds, so we're like roughly every second, you're going to gain 1 electroshock charge. And you can convert these electroshock charges into shock by parrying the opponent or doing a well-timed block, which is pretty much the same thing. So when you parry, it's going to spend all your electroshock charges and deal 40% of your attack per charge over 6 seconds. Now, this is on a 5-star rank 5 level 65 fully maxed out Nebula. It's very likely that this will probably be between like 25 to 35% for a maxed out 3-star or maxed out 4-star. It's not a huge amount of shock damage to compensate for all of the time that you're having to spend holding block. But I think there are some interesting synergies, interesting interactions. But initially, I really don't like the holding block and charging up mechanic, but I guess in terms of flavor, like, it kind of makes sense for this one. You know, you charging up energy, you shock the opponent. I get it flavor-wise, but in terms of practicality, I'm not too sure how that's going to pull off. So the heavy attack is guaranteed to shock your opponent, so that deals 1 stack of shock over 6 seconds, exactly the same as a well-timed block. Now, the special attacks are kind of where the shocks start to integrate with some of her other mechanics. So, for every stack of shock that you have on your special one, it will inflict power lock for 1 second. So, you know, if you got 10 stacks, that's 10-second power lock. And also, it's a 3.5% power drain for every stack of shock on the opponent. So, you know, if in this scenario where you've, you know, charged, you've dashed back, you've charged up, you've held block for 10 seconds on your special one, you can get off a 10-second power lock and a 10-second power drain. But again, that is quite a bit of build up to have, because not only do you need to, you know, charge back, you need to also build up the hits to get to the special one, but it's, you know, very good if you want to take a fight at a very, very slow pace, if you want to control the power. I see it having a good use there, but for the average fight, I'm not really too sure about that, really. So, interested to see how that one pans out. Now, special attack 2, I think this is where some of the potential craziness might happen with Nebula. So special attack 2, when fired off, will double the amount of shock debuffs on the opponent and deal additional energy damage per shock debuff over 3 seconds. So yeah, I think that's where you charge back. We can see in the MCOC mod video that you can get up to at least like 18 stacks of charge, so it's very likely that you can maybe go up to 99. I'm not too sure if that's possible. So if you get to 99, you parry, you fire off the special 2. I don't know what would happen. Just absolutely insane, ridiculous damage might be a viable tactic for like bursting down some crazy enemies. So yeah, I'm not really too sure. Maybe that's like a tactic to deal with like Electro or Magic, is you literally just, you know, you swipe back, you charge up 99 stacks, and then you fire off, you know, you just parry and you win the fight. Maybe that's the way to go about it. So I think, you know, she does have some interesting use and potential there. But again, Nebula is a character that I really cannot wait to get my hands on, because the shock mechanic, it baffles me. Like, I'm very, very excited about the possibility of how to deal with various damage backs and stuff just by, you know, just dashing back, charging up, and then parrying, and only needing that to deal an absurd amount of damage or shock. So yeah, I'm interested to see the synergy in that one. And then finally, we have the special attack 3. So Nebula overcharges her power generator for 10 seconds, inflicting shock when in contact with the opponent, dealing dealing pretty much the shock damage, but only over 3 seconds. So that's a bit of an interesting one. I believe after the special 3, you'll get a buff for 10 seconds. It's not super clear on this one, which means whenever you hit the opponent or you get hit, then you inflict a stack of shock on the opponent. So that seems pretty good there, but I feel like just from looking at this, I think special attack, if you want power control, it's special attack 1. If you want max damage, it's special attack 2. But also, I'm very, very interested to, you know, see how the special 3 works, because in the MCOC mod video, when Nebula uses her special 3, like, Yondu's dead. He's just on the floor there. So yeah, bit of interesting stuff there with Nebula. I think her signature ability is pretty garbage, but I think in certain matchups, by playing cleverly with the shock and also the power lock, I think she might have some potential, like, interesting uses. So I'm interested to see what this character can do. I'm not 100% sold on her yet, but I'm very, very curious. Now, anyway, let's jump into the gameplay and have a bit of a look at her animations and stuff that she's doing. Very cool character, actually. Looks like she is just a very, very fun, like, dual-wielding character to play. The animations on Nebula and the model especially, they look really, really great. Although in terms of animations, I do prefer Yondu a little bit more, just because Yondu is just, I'm a big, big Yondu fanboy from the movies. But as you can see, you know, the electroshock, it's charging up, like, quite rapidly, but one of the things as well, I guess to note in this matchup, when it's mainly Yondu dishing out the beating, is just even with a lot of his attacks, it's just not triggering Nebula's regen. Like, it's not proccing, even the special 2 there. I guess she blocked most of that. So it looks like you're probably going to have to take a really direct chunk of a special attack, like one really hard-hitting one like Scarlet Witch's Special 2 or Special 1, to actually get that regen to trigger in the first place. Like, it just seems a little bit garbage to me, the regeneration. I don't know when I come to play this character, if it's going to save my ass a few times, but just from watching, like, this gameplay video and thinking about how it activates, I don't know, I'm just not overly sold on it. Nebula's heavy attack is very cool as well, a bit of a slay there. I think there's another character that I think that's Angela's heavy attack as well. I might be wrong on that one. Angela and Psylocke, I think they share similar animations, but very cool there. So we have Yondu's Special 3, just wrecking your girl Nebula there a little bit. Arrow from the heart, through the heart from the back. And now we move on to the clip where it's actually Nebula playing on the left-hand side, so we can see what kind of stuff she does here. And this matchup, you really get a sense of kind of her shock and how that kind of scales and ramps up, because there is a lot of blocking involved in this fight. Damn, the special one's pretty cool though. I believe she puts her swords together and turns them into a spear for that, so that's pretty decent to watch. Heavy attack again, absolute beast mode there. So yeah, actually, finally the regen triggered off taking a direct big crit from Yondu's Special 2. And as you can see, it really did recover like quite a bit of the damage when it crit. And the Special 2 on Nebula, that was such a sick Special 2 there. I think that one's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass to evade. But again, she does very much remind me of Angela and Psylocke's animations. They all seem very similar to deal with, in the fact that the Special 1s are pretty much the same. The Special 2s are attack, and then throw a projectile. But yeah, it's interesting. Shock is wrecking in quite a bit to your boy Yondu there. But I'm so interested to see if it can go up to like 99, and then you can like double it via the Special 2. That would be such a crazy synergy if it exactly does work like that. So yeah, we're getting the charges up. You can see it's going all the way up to, I believe, 18 in this video here. But Yondu, he's just piercing through, man. What a tank of a champion. Parries, you get the shock off, and that was 489 damage there. So I'm not really too sure about shock damage. I mean, it seems like a decent enough chunk. I mean, it's 40% of your attack per second that you're charging up. I guess if you can double that and get the additional buff for the Special 2, I think that's going to be pretty good. But in terms of practicality, it's a little bit hard to tell. One thing, actually, I feel, you know, if you can charge up to 99, and if you can get 99 stacks and then fire off the Special 1 and have your opponent power locked for like, you know, a minute and 40 seconds, or a minute and 39 seconds. Be pretty crazy. It'd be pretty crazy synergy there, but again, it is a very kind of slow method of gameplay. You're gonna have to spend like a minute and a bit just chilling back, charging up. I don't think that's probably too much of an effective strategy. I think like 10 stacks might be all you need. But it's good to have at any one time. So to summarize this video, I think Nebula, like, I think she's gonna be okay. I think she's gonna have some interesting uses, maybe an alliance quest, maybe an alliance war in certain matchups. I think there are much slower ways that you can play this character to make her a really good utility champion, but I think in terms of raw damage output, she might be a little bit too slow, a little bit too clunky to play with the dash back and having to rely on kind of getting the charges from just holding block to actually be like a super effective damage dealer. But I don't know, I'm interested to explore Nebula a little bit more. I think a lot of testing needs to be done with this character as a 3 and 4 star before we can say exactly how good she is. But she's definitely not a champion that I want to lunge at as a 5 star. Neither is Yondu, to be honest. I'm a little bit disappointed that neither of them are like super amazing. But they both seem like they're going to have like their little interesting quirks and uses throughout the game. So I think they're two very solid additions, but I wanted one of them to be like ridiculously overpowered and just cash in on all the 5-star shards there. But unfortunately not. They seem quite good, but I'm very interested to see how these characters play out, especially when it comes to the monthly event. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like on it. That'd be greatly appreciated. I'm very interested, after watching this video and hearing my thoughts, if you were somebody that was like 110% hype on Nebula, are you still 110% hype? Is there anything in this video that you may have like been like, oh, you know, Nebula can also do this? I think we've pretty much covered everything when it comes to Nebula. Nebula. I can't really think of anything else, but if there are any like crazy uses that you've possibly thought of, please do leave them in the comments below. That'd be greatly appreciated. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching the video. Take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.